Dear diarrhea, diary full of shit, just playing along, me, myself, and I, and no one else here, you know, I'm so legit. I have nothing to say, so I figured I'd say some shit. There's some faggot boy who keeps who's like a fanboy. He should probably go die. Fucking bitch. So, his name is like Cocksucker. And, you know, I don't know if he's legit or what, but just a real fucking bitch. You know, he ain't got no fucking business, you know, being a fan, so. What a faggot. So, he probably is. It's probably just, you know what I mean? He's not just like some, you know, he's got undesirable traits, I bet you. I haven't been to his channel. Maybe I will one of these days, I don't know. Or maybe I have and I just don't remember. Like, I don't click on any videos or anything, but I might go see, you know, just look at if they got any videos or, you know, like I have public folders and whatnot, so let's see these bitch boy. Likes to suck off dead dogs or some shit. But like I said, if someone does accidentally, you know, stumble across my content, what they really need to do is just keep moving, you know. Don't fucking subscribe. Don't listen to my shit. Ain't nothing for you here. Go away. And I don't even know what the video was. Because when you click on it, it doesn't do anything. Because fucking faggot tube. Technology. Hey, this don't work. So, I think it was my future bestie Cool Breeze. Yeah, the other day he was talking about, I don't want to, you know, get a fucking degree in, you know, this subject just to be able to use this shit. This is stuff that I discovered, like I said, when I was in 7th grade computer class. Hey, this shit don't work. I didn't say it like that as a, you know, grade schooler, but oh, you just gotta F1 control alt delete, count 2 seconds, and then hit the space bar twice, and I was like, wow, this is fail. Yeah, that's kind of like my unofficial motto. If you can make it make sense to a child, you're thinking right. Period. It ends there. Let's break it down to macros, right? I did that today. Actually, I was at a truck stop, and I was polite, but she kind of. Well, anyway, I pulled in and I pulled through where the pump was at to like the pay lane. So I pulled. And usually there's like a line, you know, where they want you to stop. There was no line, you know. I pulled in and, you know, pulled under there. There was no sign that said, you know, enter or exit only. And I walked in and she said, is that your truck? And it was like an older lady, and I said, yeah. And she said, you can't park there, or whatever she said. And she just sort of, yeah, she ended that. That's all she said. So I politely, I don't remember exactly how I said it, but I'm like, I said something like, I don't remember. Why is that? You know, make me smart. I want you to tell me why I can't park there. And she kind of looked at me, and then somebody else, a younger gal, this broad was probably like in her 50s, and then some broad who was like in her 40s or something. She's like, you're facing the wrong way. And I was like, oh, my bad. Well, when the girl looked at me, I actually said, no, I'm serious. You know, tell me why I can't park there. And then that's when the other girl kind of stepped in and was like, you're facing the wrong way. And I was like, oh, well, I was wondering why there was no line. You know, and she's like, well, that would be why. And she was polite and kind of laughing, you know. So I said, oh, my bad. I'll go out and turn around. And that's exactly what I did. And then I walked in and I said, you know what I think? Because when I was walking out, I was like, you'd think they'd have it the other way, because you pull in and, you know, it's just like the first instinct. And she's like, yeah, it happens all the time. And then on the way back, when I came back in, I said, you know what I think it probably is? If you guys are really busy, at least all the trucks are in off of the street, and it keeps that entranceway clear. So, you know, I'm still trying to, like, you know, make sense of shit. You know, because sometimes shit is just fucking stupid. Just fucking stupid. You know, like having a street light, you know, at truck stops. You know, sometimes you'll see there's a median, you know, like not a median, but like a piece of concrete or something, you know, so, you know, it's a spot that they took away because they don't want drivers backing in there and hitting the lamppost. Again, if you can explain it to a child, the child would probably say,
well, why don't you just move the street light back a little farther and have it pointing out, you know, more to shine out on the parking lot, and then you could have the parking spaces. In the grand scheme of things, you'd have, like, depending on how big the truck stop is, you'd have like anywhere from 5 to 15 more parking spaces, because that's what truck stops are for. Is for trucks to park overnight, take the break.
riddle me this, Batman, you dumb fucking piece of shit. Some people need their ass beat. It's the only thing they fucking respond to. Like in a perfect world, you know, you do stupid shit, this is what happens, you know. And my future bestie Cool Breeze agrees. It was a while ago. It was probably several years ago, you know, when he was talking about like these people that come up with these subscription systems, you know. And again, that's why we're going to be such good friends. Maybe I'll contact him tomorrow. He was talking about, you know, that scene in Reservoir Dogs, you know, where he cuts his ear off, you know. Really? I buy a car and the fucking, you know, radio doesn't work? I have to pay more for that? Okay, you know, cut the fucking right ear off. All right, are we thinking normal now? Okay. But it offers the customer the ability to customize. You know, it's like, you know, it's the only thing they fucking respond to. It's the only thing they can understand. Can you make this make sense to a 7-year-old? Or a 5-year-old? You can't. Then you ain't thinking right. And they do that a lot, like at rest areas, you know. It's like, if you got rid of this useless fucking grass, you know, I mean, you could keep the grass over there, you know, but over here, if you got rid of this worthless patch of grass, you could get in, like, you know, 5 more spots for trucks, you know. Like, can you picture it? It's like, I get it, you know, it's a rest area, you want to, like, you know, ooh, scenery and stuff, and, you know, I get it. But this patch of grass over here, you could completely get rid of this, and there's room for trucks. Like, you could fit, you know, it might be 3 trucks, 5 trucks, whatever. Hey, you know, and do that at every rest area. There's a Love's in Billings, Montana. It used to be they had trash cans behind the trucks where the trailers are at. And I'm pretty positive, because you don't see this at all, Love's, that one of the manager dudes who has fucking no idea, you know, what truckers, you know, go through, and the concept of, you know, he's one of these guys where it's like, you know, well, you know, they just think that there's parking is not an issue, you know. So instead of having the trash cans behind the trailers, and the, you know, and the guy goes around like in a little golf cart with a little trailer and drags the trash cans, you know, between the trucks, and you know, swaps them out or empties them or whatever. This piece of shit, garbage human. I really like that word, because it's not like too aggressive, you know. Like when you say this fucking piece of shit, you know, it kind of sounds kind of hostile. And sometimes, you know, words have meaning, so it's like you maintain the high ground and the stoicism. So that's why I like the word, you know, this garbage human, You know what I mean? It's like some people really are. You know, because it's just so fitting, because it's not as sharp and aggressive and, you know, mean. This piece of shit. Okay, maybe they're not a piece of shit, but they're a piece of garbage. That's for damn sure. You know, I just like it. I like it. So, some garbage human. Like, quite literally, that's not overstating it. You know, I'm sure they have good qualities and this, that, and the other, but when you have such, you know, this way of thinking, you know, just like I said with that broad, and, you know, I said, you know, explain to me why. Don't just tell me I can't park there. Explain why. And she did. And she had a point. It's like, well, why didn't you just say that instead of when I walked in and she said, you can't park there. Okay, you fucking non-playable character, you know, so anyway. This person, you know, rather than, you know, have to, like I said, drag the trailers out, or the trash cans out, they decided to, like, every, I don't know, maybe 20 spots, they took a perfectly good parking spot and, like, painted lines across it, you know, so you're, like, not supposed to park there, and they placed, like, 6 trash cans all at the very front. So now the drivers have to, you know, migrate, instead of, you know, just walking to the back of the trailer and have to maybe walk over 5 trailers to the nearest trash can, you know, in either direction. He's got to walk like 15 parking spots, you know, to where all of the trash cans are now taking up a place for a truck to park. It's just, like I said, can you make it make sense to a little small child? If you can make it make sense to a little small child, like, what's the IQ of a little small child? And what, like, they're starting to learn shit like look twice before you cross the street, you know. If you can make it make sense to a little small child, you're thinking right. If you can't, like, oh, let's say you're a garbage human, you are the type of person who destroys civilizations, everything good, holy, and noble, and ultimately mankind. And, you know, I say that, you know, and it sounds like I'm exaggerating, and maybe I am a little bit, but not really. I actually mean that. You know, that's like when I say this fucking piece of shit. Okay, maybe they're not a fucking piece of shit, but they're a garbage human. And even that is kind of like, really? Well, okay, maybe that's just me putting some, you know, snark to it, or some edge to it. But they think really stupid, you know, and IQ doesn't mean shit, you know. They might be able to, you know, run a business and do the backroom shit and schedule shifts and, you know, keep track of money coming in and money going out, and then they pull a fucking move like that. And maybe they just don't fucking care, you know. They're like, fuck it. So we ain't got, you know, 15 extra trucks, you know, at night who are gonna, you know, the amount of money that they spend and fuel that they're gonna buy or whatever, fuck it. You know, I'd rather have out that way my employee who goes out and, you know, collects some trash doesn't have to drag each trash can because he's so goddamn busy, you know, making his $15 an hour as you know, sweeping floors, taking out the trash, you know, low level, you know, truck, you know, not a living wage. You know, it's one of those jobs, you know. It's like nobody stays there for more than 6 months to a year. You know, they just need a job that's maybe close by while they're doing something the summer before they go back to school, whatever, right? My guy who goes and collects the trash, and any guy who talks like this isn't going to pull a move like that. He's going to be, you know, a thin neck, pencil neck, soft hands. He's, you know, going to be like a manager bitch, you know. You know, doesn't have practical, you know, abilities. He's a bitch. He's most likely a pussy. You know, he has bad qualities. You know, he's a punk. He's just one of those guys, you know. So, Anyway, so, yeah. I did a lot of masturbating to you well, today, actually, Katie Boo. So, in case you were wondering, probably were, just sitting around in your condo or apartment or wherever you live.
If he's masturbating to my face.
Oh yeah. I made a whole bunch of like collages and, well, I just made, yeah, and then I made the templates and, you know, all that, and just, oh. Like I said, I like the one where you were with Fatty McFatfuck, you know, and she painted you up. The one, oh, it's kind of towards the end, you know, when you're all done, you're like, oh, it looks so good, it's so pretty, you know, the one with your eyes closed, obviously, and then the one with the eyes open, and like I said, I got a bunch of different shots of you smiling and looking this way and looking that way, and just like, even just a little bit, you know, it's like you're, okay, here's one, and then like 2 seconds later, oh, I'm saving that one too, because it's a little bit different angle and a little bit different face expression, you know, and it's like, yep. And I duplicate them and size them up and do all kinds of crazy shit with them, you know, because I'm a horny boy. And you're such a pretty girl. You're such a pretty girl. Who's a pretty little girl? A pretty little girl. But, yeah, so you got kind of your eyes open there, but you kind of got your head back a little bit, and it kind of got that, like, you know, I use that as like a come hither look. And I don't just use the picture as is. That's like where my mind starts, but then, you know, I can, you know, in my mind's eye, my imagination, you know, I'm picturing you moving around and doing different stuff, and, you know, so that's like just where I start. So that's like a good, you know, and then I can, you know what I mean? I can imagine you. Oh, yeah. So, but, anyway. The still photo with Little Miss Molotov cocktail, you kind of got like this mystical, like, oh, it's a magic something or other. You know, looking at the little box there, you know, your little gift goodie box or whatever, you know, that like I said, I don't know if that's an actual real thing, if that's some sort of like culture thing that she does, you know, or if it was just an ASMR kind of role play thing, or, well, I got an idea, a garden party, you know, and just whatever. It's not, maybe a little bit of both, but you kind of got that. It almost looks pathetic, to be honest with you. And you got your tongue sticking out a little bit, you know, like a dog, or Fatty McFatfuck looking at a piece of food. So I don't know, like when she goes to a restaurant and opens the menu, you know, she looks the same way, you know, like a small child witnessing something magical, you know. Oh, they got shrimp scampi coated in butter, lard, and coconut shavings. Ah, you know, and you can see, you know, like, dee-dee-dee, you know, like the magic rays of sunshine coming out of the menu. Ah, you know, the waiter comes by and he's like, can I take your order? And her answer is just, yes. And he's like, no, what would you like? And she says, yes. And he's all, no, ma'am, I don't think you understand. What would you like to order? And she hands the menu to him and says, everything. So, I'm so mean. But you know I'm right. So, anyway, and her, you know, fat blueberry, you know, boyfriend, that guy that I showed, you know, rushing through the house, you know, because it was fun time or time for dinner, one or the other, probably dinner, with the gray pants and the white shirt, you know, just knocking shit over, you know. He hands the waiter the menu and says, I'll have the same. At least they're happy, you know. they managed to find each other, and I guess that's better than what you've accomplished in your love life. Now, I don't know what your past is, but I can only assume it's stupid. Anyway, it's too bad I'm just a troll. I don't do shit like that. It's complete motherfucking bullshit. So, thinking about you. Fuck. Woo. Little trainings, Like I said, you're in the controlling spot today. This is all just sexual shit. Or, like non-penetrative, Anyway. And I always kind of, whenever I talk that mess, my mind, I always think about Kleber, and how she could be just fucked, So I masturbate to her occasionally. So. And then, of course, my mind kind of shifts to Mrs. Buttnut, and it's like, fuck! Oh, what? No, oh, things that make you go, fuck.